Good afternoon, everyone. So look, just want to say thank you very much for sort of coming on. This is the first time we've done a session like this, but we thought it was sort of timely, just given we're now sort of just on sort of 3.5 weeks out from, actually no, just over 3 weeks now out from Emergence, and given the sort of special nature of the event, we sort of thought it was worthwhile to sort of take the time and provide a bit of context as far as how we are setting this up as a company, and also put a bit of spotlight on some of the work that we're doing as part of it. So look, as we sort of go through this, I said I'm happy for people to send me through questions on the chat side. But really what I want to do is I want to give you a bit of a background as to Emergence. And this is really, I suppose the intention of this is it's really for companies or for founders that are looking to potentially present their business at Emergence. So the idea from us is we want to provide you with as much information as possible, for companies that are looking to potentially present. So it's helpful for me that if you do have any questions as we're going through this, please send it through specifically on the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them whilst I'm talking. And also note there's still people sort of coming onto the conference. All right, so the first part is what I'll do is I'll sort of give you a bit of a history as to Emergence itself, right? Because I think that's an important part. The actual concept come about, as you know, Wholesale Investor, we've been hosting sort of events for some time. We launched sort of October 2008. And, part of what we learned really early on is that in this investment game, one of the key factors is the ability for investors to actually meet companies. And so when we actually started, we started as a magazine, and we would mail out the magazine, and then, we would just let sort of things unfold, but we sort of had no visibility over it. And then an important part which sort of become obvious to us was we started looking for ways to interact or helping, I suppose, companies interact with investors. And that obviously came through the showcase events. And one of the things I noticed sort of at that time was that we would go around to different investor meetings, and you would turn up and there'd be basically 10 people in the room. 4 of them were connected to the company, either staff or related to it. There would be, different brokers and so forth that were participating in it. And then on the other part, you would have maybe 2 or 3 actually investors in the room out of a room full of 10. And here's these people that had taken out sort of hotel boardrooms. They would have spent weeks organizing it. They would have done all the call arounds and all that sort of stuff to go along with it. So, that's where it sort of started for us. And then, we started running Invest events, and, we've been doing it for some time. In 2018, we actually ran 46 showcase events. I absolutely promised my team I would never do that again. But what we decided to do was we decided that we wanted to do larger scale events and do them less often. And the importance behind that was really sort of brought about the birth of Emergence. And it was a team inspired initiative. And the objective for us was we thought, how can we bring a spotlight to the entire ecosystem over a few days? In our day-to-day work, we get the opportunity of meeting some amazing people. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to show how amazing they are. The media gets dominated by articles typically related to venture VCs, and that's really about it. VCs and maybe brokers, right? Outside of that, there's not really that much of a spotlight. So we thought, let's let us do the job of putting a spotlight on that ecosystem. So 2018 was the first time we held Emergence. And the ambition at that stage was, for me, like, I wanted to put sort of 800 to 1,000 people into a room. And, it's crazy for us at that time to sort of put together a 3-day event when previously we were just doing like, maybe 4-hour events at maximum. And we were fortunate enough that event ended up being an incredible success. And it was also at the same time, which I don't know if people remember, was that the boom around sort of blockchain and crypto was also taking off. And I remember one specific session, we actually had people so far out the door, right, that effectively they were 5 meters outside the door trying to get in. So it was really, like, for me, I sort of realized we hit a home run at that point. But more importantly, what happened for us was I realized that we had achieved our objective. Not only did we put a spotlight under the ecosystem, but the companies that participated were able to get a lot more connections from that event than our typical showcase event. So the reason is when you create something as big as Emergence, effectively what starts to happen is that it has a multiplication effect. And because of the size of it, you actually have people flying in from all sorts of places to do it. So when we ran our first Emergence, I couldn't believe that people were flying in from Adelaide, from Melbourne, from Brisbane. We had one investor specifically fly in from Singapore for us. I thought, geez, that's really interesting. And so that's really what kicked off our, our sort of thinking around Emergence. In 2019, we did some work with Brisbane marketing, and they said, look, we really want you to do an Emergence in Brisbane. I said, look, we're going to need to do it, because of our networks are mostly in Sydney. We said we're going to need to do it in sort of Sydney as well. So effectively, we had this almost Emergence week, which was absolute, torture for me and my team, but incredibly successful, experience altogether, where across the two events, we effectively had 1,500 people turn up. But said it once again lived up to the format, where because we put so much attention and put so much a spotlight on it, and because it is become such an experience, that what starts to happen is you tend to have more media turning up, you have more investment groups turn up. It becomes a kind of event that people actually put on their calendar and they make sure that they want to be involved in. And so, that's really, I was going to say one final thing is, from a company's perspective, I realize that what it becomes for you guys as potential participants, as companies participating, is that it provides you with a platform to extract anywhere from 6 to 12 months worth of potential contacts out of just a couple of days. And that's really the power that we're going for. And as we started doing more and more events, realize what we sort of got to a point, and this is part of our experience in doing business in Asia, is that we realize that what we want to do is we don't want to make Emergence just about, okay, you pitch and you stand at your trade stand and sort of try and network. We wanted to make it an experience. We want to make an experience that every single year companies feel like this is on their to-do list and that they must participate. And that sort of last week of February that we sort of own and dominate. So obviously we set it up well this year. We've taken out a floor at the Hilton, and if anyone knows, like, it's a massive investment from our side, where we're going to that length to take out the Hilton across 3 days, right, to facilitate this as an exercise. But we wanted to make it more than that. We wanted to make a process where not only that when you actually want to participate, the next step from our side is that what we will look to do is that as part of our sort of customer success program, and I'll sort of take you through this as an experience, that the first step is that once a company signs up to participate with Emergence, the first thing that we're looking to do, someone just told me that there's poor interference with the mic. I hope that's a bit better now. I hope that quality is a bit better. If someone can sort of comment in the chat, that would be really great, if that's a much better quality. But what we were looking to do is that we were looking to, how can I say it, in providing that experience, the first step was not just about the event itself, but also in the lead up to the event. So we introduced a new role last year called the customer success role. And really what we've been doing in that is we've been basically providing with our clients as much as we can in regards to templates, as much as we can in regards to education about working specifically with high net worth investors. So really the Emergence experience begins before Emergence with our customer success program. And simple things like what emails to send to an investor, to me, is high priority. And okay, so I've got no change. Let me take out my mic and let me take out my headphones and see if that makes a difference. Okay. So I hope that's a bit better. It might sound a bit more echoey because I've just taken out my earphones out of my laptop. But the driving desire is that even before Emergence, we're really trying to help companies sort of get their processes in order from the setup room with Chris. So obviously Crisp is included as part of the package. We're helping companies set up on that, giving them sort of context as far as how they should be looking to set up their deal room, how they should be looking to set up their frequently asked questions. Because the goal for us as part of this experience is, how can we not only help you in the capital raising process, but also save time, save money, and improve your efficiency in the process as well? So hence that in the customer success program, there's a complete flow chart of what you can be doing with investors from start to finish. We've tried to make it that simple that literally all you need to do is click on a link, there's a template, copy, paste, insert potential investor's name, and then away you go with your communications. Right now, that's the way we're thinking about it from a capital raising perspective. So the first step is really the education part. Second step is the process. So we want to guide you on the process in the lead up to the event. Also, what we're doing with companies is we're actually doing a lot of promotion beforehand. So you would have noticed in the communications that are going out, we're talking about the companies that are participating. Some of those companies already have 50 plus registrations of interest, and we haven't even got to the conference yet. And that's the power of this process. This process is an online to offline investment process. So we generate the interest online, and then we help get them offline to actually come along to the event. So that's the sort of first step. Now, when actually at the event, the way we've set it up is obviously every company gets to present for 10 minutes. Every company also gets their own trade stand. So we've aligned ourselves with Harry the Hirer. So everyone's got a professional looking booth, but still quite simple for you to set up. And when you're like, the first step for us is that obviously the presentation is one part. There's a whole bunch of different engagement activities as well. One of the things that we've really learned in this process is there's obviously the formalities of the day. So the presentation, people coming up to your booth, chatting with you, asking you questions and so forth, wanting access to your deal room, wanting to ask questions, all that sort of stuff is very normal. We also realize that one of the most important parts of this is the VIP functions afterwards. So it's the formalities by day, and then the networking and sort of more sort of in-depth conversations at nighttime. We have set this up really specifically so that on the Tuesday night that we've got a welcome function. On the Wednesday, obviously is obviously different showcase events. Every company gets a day in which there'll be a day in which they're going to be presenting on. You also get the trade booth as well, and then we've got the evening functions as well for the companies that are participating. And once again, the idea behind that is so that you can take the conversation you start the day and then obviously continue those conversations at nighttime. And the other unique factor is we've also set up a VIP area as part of it so that companies can have obviously representation of their trade stand, but they can also be chatting to some of our more high profile and sort of, chatting to our VIP guests in the actual VIP room. So it simplifies your communication and your access to potential investors, panelists, guest speakers, all stuff that you sort of wouldn't normally get access to. That's how we've set this up. So that said, Emergence is itself an experience. Now that's the Wednesday to the Friday. Now, the other part we've done with Emergence is on the Monday and Tuesday, so the 24th and the 25th, we've actually set up 2 days of workshops as part of that. And it's your option whether you come or not. But really the first day is workshops, and it's all about the capital raising process. It's all about building high performance teams. It's also, there's an R&D finance component. It's also about learning about the sales process you can use to build your own sales pipeline and obviously accelerate your growth. And then also there'll be a component about international expansion. So that's on the Monday. On the Tuesday is actually our reverse pitch day, where we're inviting a bunch of different investment groups to talk about what they like to look at when they're investing in companies and how their process is for that investment. Now that's important because it means you start to understand what they're actually looking for, but even more importantly that is you can get direct access and have conversations with them as well. Now this whole process is obviously not easy. So we're taking out the Hilton for 3 days. We're organizing cocktail functions at nighttime. And what is amazing about it is I told you about sort of 2018, 2019. For this year, we already have over 2,000 registrations for it. I just can't tell you how crazy that is, that we have that level of registrations from most of the top firms, family offices, investment groups, etc., have already registered to join. And typically this is when the hype period starts. So typically in the last 3 weeks is when you have the most interest for an event. So for us to be at the stage we're at now is just, very much unexpected, but also quite exciting, Now, what I'm going to do is, so that's the emerging experience. I've spent a decent amount of time talking about that. So I hope you get the context of the investment, I suppose, in promoting yourself and participating in Emergence actually starts before the event in what we provide to you in our customer success program around the education, the process, the templates, the guides that we've set up, all to try and simplify your process of raising money. But actually, really what we're trying to do is help improve your conversion rate with investors. And then obviously the whole step of Emergence in that we've got probably about 4 to 5 different activity points that you can make contact and communicate and engage with potential investors, and also I think the other thing to highlight is the strategic commercial opportunities that get created at Emergence as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through some of the key questions that people typically ask. If you want to send a message on chat with a question specifically for you, please do that. But some of the questions we typically get asked is, firstly, who's actually in the audience? So typically with Emergence, you'll have the portion of private high net worth individuals is the sort of dominant. Obviously, we've also got VC funds, we've got PE funds, investment banks, different fund management groups, etc., all participating. And there'll be a component in where we have industry as well. So the industry is typically made up of, obviously there's government that typically come along to these events, which can be useful in different ways. We have international governments represented as well, which is exciting from our point of view. What I would like to highlight is that in dealing with industry, what's actually important to know is that sometimes industry are also investors. So when people are chatting with, for example, a lawyer, they're often not thinking about that lawyer as being a potential investor into their company. When I can tell you the people that actually initially started the investment into this area were lawyers and accountants, right? So understand that industry are investors into this area. And if you know, obviously from your perspective, you're saying to yourself, oh, look, I just want to speak with investors. Our suggestion is speak with everyone, be open with your communications. A key sign that we look for in communication is that if someone's talking more to you than asking you questions, then you're best to move on from them. That's a really simple note. But aside from that, as I said, from my perspective, I've seen companies raise, $5 million from one investment group, as well as that investment group then help them get strategic partnerships in other countries. I've also seen as low as 25,000 go into companies. So typically I sort of highlight that when you're looking for investment from private high net worth, the amount typically is anywhere sort of from 50 to 250. If you're happy to accept sort of 25K as a minimum, there are companies that are happy to do that. But I typically recommend to people to set their minimum investment size at that sort of 50K mark. So typically it's 50 to 250K from private investors. From family office groups and professional investors, it's typically $1 million and above. Just know that private high net worths tend to act quicker than what a larger investment group will, but both will be present at the event. And really your job is to make as many contacts as possible at the event. I mentioned about the industry part. You got to understand that industry is just part of it. And as I said, typically it's about 20 to 25% sort of make up an audience that are industry related. They are obviously a lot more proactive in talking to companies. The investors, what you need to know about dealing with investors is they typically will only speak to the sort of 2 or 3 companies that they believe are most relevant for them, right? So our help in our guidance is, I suppose, that communication process for them will be obviously of assistance. The other question we typically get from companies is, for example, they'll ask questions like, oh, will I raise money? Well, that's completely dependent on you. Look, the reality is our job is to put on the show, right? Our job is to make sure that we make as much visibility about this event to the high net worth ecosystem as possible to attract them to the event. We've already got an incredible start and that hype will continue to build. Your ability to raise money is determined on so many other factors that have nothing to do with us, right? It determines on your valuation, the process you actually take the investors through, your ability to get them the information that they're after. If they require additional information than what you're already supplying, it's, do they actually like your business as a starting point? Do they like, trust and respect you as an individual, right? There's all those different factors that go into it, right? So it's important to understand what I would say to you is that if you're looking to go down, if you're thinking about participating in Emergence, look at what you've been able to achieve previously. So for example, if you've spoken to 10 investors over the last few months and you've been able to convert 2 of those into shareholders, there's something going well with your process. If you've spoken to 100 investors in the last year and haven't been able to raise any money, there's a challenge with that process that needs to be addressed, right? So from my side, will you raise money? There's absolutely no guarantees. What I am saying is that we have had plenty of companies successfully raise money from pretty much every sector, like right from, I'm talking life science through to death tech. So we have success examples in every direction. What is the percentage of companies that raise money is another question. So the thing I like to highlight is that what other people do is irrelevant to you. I said, really look at what are the success benchmarks in your specific sector. As I said, we've been fortunate enough to raise substantial amount of money for most companies across most sectors, right? So if you're a high growth fintech company, what happens in the life science sector is completely irrelevant to you. Also, the other thing to note is that different sectors come in and out of favor, right? So for me, like what we've done now, if you have a look at the sectors that we're focusing on for Emergence, they're actually the sectors that are most in favor right now. So all the different technologies from fintech, obviously blockchain has still got strong interest. Life science has got strong interest. Agri-tech, renewable energy is popular. I'm going off the top of my head here, so apologies. Impact investment is another area that's of high interest. Just trying to think of other panel. Anyway, if you look at the sort of panelists and people involved, and obviously SaaS type businesses are popular, marketplace businesses, etc. So look, we've done our best. We know the areas that are hot with it. Oh, I forgot the hottest one, advanced, anything AI, robotics and so forth and also medicinal cannabis. All these areas are quite hot for us and quite easy for us to generate interest at the moment. The other one that's really come on strong quite lately is anything property and fund related is also of strong interest. So that gives you a bit of perspective about what's of interest to investors. The next one that I'll sort of highlight is how much do investors typically invest? As I said, we've seen investments from as low as 25K to up to 5 mil. From our last series that we did through Singapore, we've got a group that's currently in negotiations for 20 million. Right, we've got clients that have raised 30 million from us over a period of time. Every company has a different experience, right? They said, for me, I always know that it's more about the attitude that you actually bring to the event, the proactive nature that you approach the conversation with, how diligent you are. I said, how good your pitch is from the stage, also how good your pitch is from the stand. Obviously, we've put in our customer success program to assist with that. All those things factor into, what you can actually experience from Emergence. So look, I've done a lot of talking sort of in this. I hope I've sort of given you enough context as far as what that experience is like. But look, to summarize it, all I can say is we're taking out a 5-star hotel for 3 days, all designed and inviting people, all designed for the objective of investing into growth companies and private opportunities. And there's 2,000 people registered. It's just such a unique thing. There's just nothing else like this in Australasia. And we do this once a year at this scale. So for companies looking to participate in Emergence, I just can't think of a better opportunity to get, I suppose, that momentum that you're after. But I said, the way we think about it is we want companies to get 6 to 12 months worth of potential investor contacts across a few days. And to help you with that strategy, in your capital raising, the goal is that you can effectively use this process to generate the kind of momentum for your capital raising that sort of helps get you, I suppose, in that moment. The momentum is one part, but helps sort of create the bandwagon effect that I've been talking about in sort of education programs. So look, if there's any questions, please send it through in the chat area. I'm looking in there right now. So if you have any questions you would like to ask, please send it through. This is rare for me, having a shy audience that's not sending through any questions. One of the questions I had sort of before this was, is CRISP actually included in the program? And yes, it is. We've absolutely made sure that CRISP is part of it because we want to simplify the deal making process from your side. So it's, you know, all the setup sort of is integrated into Crisp, and obviously you'll be inviting investors into your deal room. So been asked a question, have there been new funds raising capital at Emergence? Literally every sector, every type of deal has utilized Emergence in some way for raising capital. Whether I said new funds is not unusual for us. We've had VC funds participate. We've had traditional equity funds participate. We've had property funds participate, etc. And I said we've got references for each. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, so I'll give it sort of 2 to 3 more minutes. So there's still quite a few people on the, there's still actually quite a number on the call. So if you have any questions, please send it through now. I said the place to do it is through the Zoom webinar chat, and then I'll reply, and then I'll answer. So I just got asked a question on stats on success rates. So as I mentioned, the actual success, I said it's really keen for me to highlight two aspects. There are, as far as successful introductions, every company gets introductions from the event, right? As far as with investors. As far as actually raising money, there are so many things that we don't have control over in that process. As far as we don't have control over your valuation, we don't have control over your communication with investors, we don't have control over how quickly you can get them the information thereafter, right? And also, sector makes a big difference. So typically, what we try and highlight is that sectors, there's a great saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's why we typically tend to concentrate Emergence on sectors that are growing, because they tend to have a higher success rate, right? So the other things that we look at as far as what determines success rate with a business is that simply that if a company's firstly got a strong board of management, that's helpful. If you've already got well-known investors into your business, or if you've already raised money, that's also helpful for us. If you're a B2B business and you've got blue chip clients, that's also helpful, because it means there's basically it's proof of concept, or it's proof of product, and it's proof of market for what you're looking to do. The other part is for us, if it's a B2C, we're looking for any sort of growth which you've been able to achieve in that, and that makes a big difference. And also you mentioned about there's other marketplaces to connect. There is absolutely no other place that you can get access to this amount of investors across Australasia. There is absolutely nothing like it whatsoever. No one is doing anything on the scale that we are. And as I said, it's just such a hard area. Obviously, we've been fortunate enough to build our name over 11 years. So I got asked the question of, what's my favorite sort of startup scale up that got its funding from Emergence or shortly afterwards? I'll tell you I've got a few favorites. One of my favorite ones that's basically raised money from Emergence really was, they've actually raised it from several of our events, but effectively they've raised together over 30 million from different events to participate. But Emergence was a big one for them, for the fact that it introduced them to international contacts that they were able to then translate not only into strategic deals, but also into capital as well. And that to me is to me that makes a big difference. All right, one more minute. We've got time for one more question. All right, so that's it. That's it from me for now. So obviously you would have, if there's any questions on the email that got sent out It's got Bella from our marketing team's email address on it, so feel free to send any questions through to her. If you have any stuff from this, we're getting compliments from one of our team members on the chat. God bless that. Yes, Patrick is fantastic from Chris. He's probably set up this as a discussion point. No, if you have any questions, please send it through to Bella. Obviously, I've got my team that are working on it. So we're coming down close now. So we're coming down to our final spot. So we want to give you the opportunity to know as much information as possible. The other part as well, what really helps us when companies come on board, we do a lot of promotion beforehand. So as I said, we want to attract the interest beforehand online and then take them to the event offline as well. So, so from our point of view, we want to help, as much get transacted as possible, and anything we can do to assist that, we will be doing. So thank you much for joining on this, I don't even know, on this Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you all joining. Any other questions going on? And otherwise, I'll see you at Emergence. Thank you.